The end of 2023 is almost upon us, and while the year has been a pretty solid one when it comes to both AAA releases and a great batch of indie games for us to all play and enjoy, the Switch scam game saga continues. Since the inception of the channel though, I've always tried to strike a healthy balance between delivering reviews of those games you should definitely be checking out and those you should be avoiding, but this year marked a clear shift in the equilibrium of my content. Now this was partially due to my own time constraints and home life commitments, but even more so due to the growing number of scam game publishers and an exponential increase in the number of scam game releases, with new titles dropping almost weekly and new names joining the Switch eShop scam ring. I could quite easily sit here and apologise to you all for putting out less content on the good games, and indeed I have had several comments on the channel regarding the drop in such content. But with very few content creators out there willing to cover the scam games or even speak up about the problem unless it benefits them to do so, for example the outrage caused by The Last of Us knockoff, which almost every Switch publication under the sun covered, I feel it my duty to keep you informed of the ongoing problem and hopefully entertain you a little and save you a bit of cash in the process. In today's video though, we're going to be taking a look back at how we got to where we are now, the current state of affairs, and a look forward to see where we may just well be in the not too distant future. As always though, I welcome your comments and opinions on the matter, but without further ado, let's get started. So way back in the early days of the channel, which admittedly feels like a lifetime ago to me, but is in fact only a few years ago at the start of 2020, the main problem we as consumers had to face was the vast amounts of shovelware and asset flips being piped into the eShop. And my first asset flip warning video went into publication around September or October of that year, with the most notable release being the notorious asset flip Hammer 2 Reloaded. Throughout 2021, publishers such as PixArts, Peter Skolsky and Benjamin Kistler flooded the eShop with these asset flips, but for the most part people could see them for what they were, and I had the simple job of identifying and highlighting the assets to you all and making you aware of these publishers and what you were actually getting for your money. This all changed though in January of 2022 with the release of Cop Car Police Simulator Chase by Midnight Works. Unlike the asset flips that had come previously, whose eShop listings contained legitimate in-game screenshots and reasonably accurate descriptions, this new game not only featured fake screenshots which in no way depicted the in-game visuals, but also what I believe to be an embellished description containing several features which were not actually present in the game, and thus the scam game was born. Now I'll preempt any backlash from either Midnight Works or any of the other publishers I'm about to mention by saying that everything I'm about to say is either formed from my own personal opinions based on the evidence that I've discovered, can be backed up by facts, or is what I believe to be in the best interest of the public, or in this case consumers, to be informed of. With that out of the way though, throughout 2022 Midnight Works would go on to release several other scam games, including Prison Life Simulator 2022 and Mudness Off-Road Car Simulator, both of which followed suit in terms of the legitimacy of the screenshots and descriptions, or lack thereof, as well as having the same long format titles which packed as many SEO optimised words into them, ensuring that they'd most definitely appear at the top of the eShop search results. To top it all off though, the publisher frequently offered them at discounted prices, with up to 90% off in some instances, and all of these things combined made for an enticing purchase for unsuspecting buyers. Around September of 2022 though, the problem began to escalate with the release of Demolished Derby Nitro Battle, a game not from Midnight Works but from a new publisher known as Instamarketing and Game, or so it would seem at least on the surface, as after doing a spot of research I discovered that Instamarketing and Game were in fact a subsidiary of Midnight Works, and in November 2022 I published a video on the subject entitled Midnight Works Nintendo Switch eShop's Biggest Scammers. Now this video garnered only minor attention and a year on is still sitting around 6,000 views, but heading into 2023 we would see several other scam game publishers appearing, including VG Games and Desvault Games, and towards the end of the year these would be joined by both Go Game console publisher and finally Success Games. Between them though, these 5 publishers would go on to release over 100 titles, and while I was only able to cover a small portion of them here on the channel, the ones that I did cover all qualified as scam games, either due to the illegitimate screenshots and trailers, or their embellished descriptions and non-existent features. But in August of 2023, I published another video exposing these publishers and the practices, again to very little fanfare. Now, a month prior to that video going live, Midnight Works actually decided to strike back at me, quite literally, by issuing me a copyright takedown request on my video on them. There was of course no legitimacy to these copyright claims, and their email to YouTube was entirely focused around the supposed fact that the video apparently harmed their reputation and made them look bad, and so thankfully YouTube sided with me and the video stayed up. But since its release I've received several comments and emails from indie developers who have thanked me after turning down Midnight Works' offer to publish the games, so it's clear that this kind of content is actually helping people and having an impact. This isn't the only publisher I've managed to piss off though, as only last month I received another copyright takedown request, this time from Max Interactive Studio, which was once again denied by YouTube. But you get the picture here. I'm making waves and these so-called publishers and developers don't like it one bit. So where are we now? Well, despite my best efforts, which include several emails to Nintendo, a name drop in a Jim Sterling video and featured articles from both Kotaku and Nintendo Life, both asset flips and scam games still persist. And at the date of this video's publication, Cop Car Police Simulator Chase is still available for purchase. But when it comes to the publishers themselves, specifically Midnight Works, it appears as though they're changing tact a little, shifting the shifty practices and modifying the methods to remain under the radar and divert attention away from themselves. Now, the biggest news I have to announce is that Midnight Works have officially made the jump to PlayStation, where they released a ton of their back catalogue. And while I speculated in my previous videos that all 5 publishers in the Switch eShop scam ring were somehow linked to Midnight Works in one form or another, it appears as though that hypothesis held some weight, as on the PlayStation, all of the games on screen now which were previously published by separate companies on the Nintendo Switch are instead published solely under Midnight Works on the PlayStation. Now, many of the games have had the names changed, but the thumbnails, descriptions and screenshots remain the same for them, so PlayStation consumers are now suffering the same fate as the rest of us when it comes to being conned by these jokers. But there are also several games on the PlayStation which have not yet been released on the Nintendo Switch, and I suspect it's only a matter of time before they will be. In other news though, in an attempt to maybe hide the tracks, a bunch of games originally published on Switch by both Midnight Works and Instamarketing and Game are now listed under entirely new publishing names on the Switch, those being Erlano and Publish Me. And coincidentally, this includes several games which I've covered right here on the channel, such as Deep Space and Prison Life Simulator from Midnight Works, and Demolished Derby Nitro Battle, previously published by Insta. Now, it could be that the publishing contract is up and the developers of these games have gone ahead and found a new publisher for them, but I highly doubt this to be the case, considering that I've actually seen a copy of Midnight Works' publishing contract which specifies the publishing term as being 1 year from which the game is released, and Deep Space Action Fire, now published under Erlano, only actually released in February of this year. Now, in terms of new scam game publishers, the latest addition to the Switch eShop scam ring appears to be Success Games, who dropped 2 games back in September and another 7 in November alone. And while admittedly I haven't yet covered any of their titles, several of them have already been published under Midnight Works on PlayStation, And going by their track record and the fact that the administrator of Success Games is listed as none other than Victor Bivol, one of the founding forefathers of Midnight Works, I'd wager my left bollock on them being connected and thus a true member of the scam game gang. But again, this is just pure speculation here. If this is the case though, that takes the total number of scammers on the Switch to 6, and as the count currently stands, amongst them they've published a total of around 150 games, not all of which I have to add for legal reasons I can verify as being scams, but all of the ones that I've covered on the channel at least I can safely say should most definitely be avoided. So where does this leave us for the future then? Well, taking the figures into account, in 2022 the aforementioned publishers put out a total of 40 games, so not too shabby. But in 2023 they massively stepped up the game, and after Desvault Games, Success Games and Go Game console publisher joined the forces, the group managed to shit out a combined total of 110 games onto the eShop, meaning that the number has nearly tripled in the past year, and these titles account for nearly 5% of the total number of digital games released on the Nintendo Switch in 2023. If we take these statistics though and project ahead a few years following the current exponential trend, by 2026 we would have approximately 6,000 more on the eShop, and would literally be drowning in a sea of scam game shite. This of course will never happen. We supposedly have a Nintendo Switch 2 on the horizon, and who knows, Nintendo may step up and pull the fingers out of the money grabbing asses and do something about these disgusting excuses for publishers. But considering they've made absolutely no effort so far to stop them, and most of the action has presumably come from takedowns from big publishing names such as Naughty Dog, we're likely to see the floodgates left wide open for a new wave of scam game titles if and when a new eShop goes live. Whatever the case though, the Nintendo Switch has still got at least a couple of years of life left in it, and rest assured the likes of Midnight Works & Co will continue their ongoing assault unless we the consumers attempt to stop them. How we do that exactly? Well, not buying the games is definitely a start. But getting the word out there and warning people of them also really helps, and the easiest way to do this is to share videos just like this one anywhere you can. For now though, that is just about all I've got for you today. I do hope you enjoyed this one. It took quite a bit of effort to do the research for and put everything together, but show me some love by hitting that like button and dropping a comment down below. And if you enjoy this kind of content, then consider subscribing to the channel. Until next time though, I want to say a big thanks to the patrons of the channel for their ongoing support, and to you the viewers for watching, and as always, take care of yourselves and game on.